You mind if I get all cozy here with you for a minute? I hate to say it, but I'm thinking of quitting Instagram. I feel like that is something that I've said for a really long time, but the fact that the thought keeps revisiting me is just a sign to me that maybe I just should, you know? It feels like Instagram is not a place for artists anymore, that it's just something to get on to numb your brain out. It really makes me sad because Instagram used to be a place where I felt very comfortable. Back in college, I would share just one painting a day and that was it. Like I didn't feel any pressure to be anyone other than myself, you know what I mean? And I always kind of trusted that if people followed me, they would see my content. And that is just not the case anymore. You know, it really makes you revisit what are you spending your energy on and is it worth it? For me, it's just starting to feel less and less the case that Instagram is worth my energy. Welcome back to another episode of The Reclaimed Creative. I'm Jen Carmiel. I'm a little working artist in this cruel world. Warm world. We're reframing. We are reclaiming. But on this channel, we talk a lot about art encouragement, and art business. Hopefully it feels like a warm hug from your little art bestie while you're working on your own stuff. If you need a little bit more optimism in your life, one of my favorite things in the world is my Small Joys Club. It's a cute little club where every single month I mail you an art print and a letter that celebrates the small joys in life and really reminds you that there is good out there in the world. Sometimes I share poetry that I love. Sometimes I share excerpts from books that I'm reading, or just memories from my own life, which have been life-learned lessons. Lessons in life learned. You know what I mean. Join the Small Joys Club. I think that a lot of artists will probably relate to this sentiment of feeling like you're posting into the void, and that's not necessarily the case for me. I do get some amount of engagement, but it's just starting to feel like I have to perform or be someone that I'm not in order to get engagement, and then it just feels cheap, you know what I mean? And maybe it's a bunch of people in my head, maybe it's a bunch of advice in my head that I need to let go of. But overall, it doesn't help the fact that I don't enjoy Instagram anymore as a consumer. It really disappoints me that Instagram has become a space for mindless entertainment when it once used to be somewhere where you could reconnect with friends and where you could see little windows into people's lives, and now it just feels like you're either a content creator or a content consumer, and I just hate that feeling. I want to be able to see the content by the people that I love in my life. Well, even, for instance, yesterday even, my fiance made a post like saying, "Oh, I love my fiance, she's so sweet," you know, like something sweet like that, and when I went to my Instagram feed, I did not see it. I had to search up his profile in order to find the post, and that was sort of like the last straw for me. I'm like, if someone even mentions me in a post and it's not going to show up on my home feed, like, are you kidding me? It's just really disappointing the way that Instagram has chose to prioritize content. And I know that myself, whenever I get onto the app, it feels like I spend hours just kind of like not myself anymore. I'm not intentionally consuming the way that I am here on YouTube. The thing that I love about YouTube the most is that I intentionally choose what I watch, you know? You don't choose what you watch on Instagram. You have the illusion that you choose what you watch because you choose to follow certain creators, but at the end of the day, the algorithm feeds you content. It just makes me feel a little bit like an animal? I don't know, is that dramatic to say? It makes me feel like I'm serving someone else's purpose and I'm no longer getting in return what I love, which is visibility of the creators that I love. It just doesn't offer me that anymore. And it's really disappointing because it used to be that. It used to be that for me. And so it almost feels like I'm breaking up with Instagram in a way, trying to decide whether or not to leave the platform. One of the biggest reasons why I'm so hesitant to leave the platform is because I worry that I might lose out on art sales or lose out on visibility, because it's not a lie. Like, there are so many people on Instagram all the time. And so if I leave the platform, am I losing the potential millions of viewers? But then you look at your actual view count. Okay, let's actually be more accurate about it. Yeah? You have a question, Tasso? But yeah, more accurately, I would be losing out on a couple hundred viewers or a couple hundred visibility eyeballs kinds of things. And part of me wonders if I should continue for that reason, but it's really hard to continue to be active on a platform where you don't enjoy it as a consumer. YouTube feels very easy and natural for me to be continuing as a consumer because I just enjoy all of the content that I see. I feel like I'm in control of the content that I see in a way that I just am not on Instagram. And maybe that means just making like a last post, a pinned post, where I just redirect people to other avenues where I'm more present. I'm heavily considering Substack. I might jump ship onto Substack because there on Substack I can actually see people's artwork. I actually see things that I'm interested in. And I feel like creators are a little bit more authentic on Substack, at least that I've been able to observe, than they are on Instagram. I feel like Instagram is just, I feel very pigeonholed into, I have to create one kind of content and only one kind. And it's just, I'm not a fan of how I feel as a consumer, and I'm also hugely not a fan of how I feel as a creator. I read once that Instagram has kind of pivoted into users of their app being in two groups, either being a consumer or being a creator. And I feel like that is just such an isolating concept, but it's very accurate, isn't it? If you go to your homepage, you're only going to ever see either sponsored posts or posts that they think will be engaging for you. You no longer see posts by your friends and family, posts by the people that you follow. This morning I was even thinking about a particular painter that I really enjoy whose content I haven't seen in a very, very long time. And it's just been a reminder for me, like, that Instagram doesn't show me what I want to see, and it's really disappointing. And as someone who works 40 hours a week on their art business, like, it really comes down to what am I willing to spend my energy on, allow to occupy the space in my brain. This morning I was trying to batch create content. I've always heard of people doing that, but it's just never sat right for me. For me, on social media, I've only ever posted in real time what I'm actually feeling in that moment. It's almost like you get penalized for that because of how different or sporadic your posts can be, when in the past that might have been considered a strength. They feel more authentic because they are a little all over the place. They are showing you exactly what you're feeling in the moment, and that's going to change every single day. When you go to an actual like serious content creator's profile, Instagram just favors people that post the same stuff, and disappointing, one might say. And so for these reasons, I'm considering jumping ship to Substack. I haven't put enough energy into Substack because it's so new, but anytime I am on Substack, I find myself a lot more curious, a lot more intrigued than I am on Instagram. And it really does make me curious how my art business might be influenced if I diverted attention into Substack instead of Instagram. The one aspect of Instagram that I do really enjoy is I feel like it allows for sort of like an open door, an open invitation for people to easily contact me. I have been able to connect with all kinds of new people through the DMs of Instagram, but it's just coming down to the content creation side where I just don't feel connected anymore, and I don't really know what to do there. I don't know if it means that I should just try to figure out a more authentic way of posting, or if I should just jump ship entirely. One philosophy in my own life is that anytime I have a recurring thought or a recurring directive, a recurring guiding light in a way, it kind of makes me feel like maybe this is a voice that I should listen to. That voice that comes in very quietly and reminds you of something often. Anytime I have listened to that voice eventually, it usually ends up for the better. And so just because of that fact alone, it really does make me seriously consider just kind of leaving Instagram behind. I remember I was at an art market a few weeks ago, and I was trying to like gather people for my email newsletter, and one person in particular said, "Oh, I'll follow you on Instagram but not your email newsletter, just because I have too many things in my inbox. I just, to be forthright, I wouldn't see it if it was in my inbox." And I understand that, I do, but in that moment I just remember feeling a little bit sad because I'm like, even if you follow me, I'm pretty sure my post won't show up for you. Not only am I not certain that my post will show up for them, but it's also that the quality of attention on Instagram is typically so much worse than that you receive almost anywhere else. And particularly at this time of the year, as I record this, it's December 22nd. I've already completed my last art market of the season, and I won't be returning to art markets until March when the weather warms up just a little bit. And I think that's in large part the reason for my sort of like reaction this morning while trying to plan content and schedule it to be posted. It's just left me feeling a little bit like I wish I had a way to more deeply connect with people than just like a post they're going to scroll past in 2 seconds on Instagram. That's why I've always really loved art markets. I really love to meet people in person, talk to them about their life. That's why YouTube has been a really important piece of my whole journey. It feels like that to me. It feels like a moment where I'm actually able to connect with you in a way that I want to, without feeling like I have to condense myself, cut myself into tiny little bite-sized pieces to be consumed in just a few seconds. Like, that's just not the way that I naturally want to show up or connect with people or be represented. I hate having to be represented in just a few seconds, you know what I mean? Like, I'm so much bigger than that. Like, I have so many more opinions, and there's so much more nuance that can be discussed in a couple seconds, and so it just doesn't feel very natural for me to show up in that way. And so if Instagram is not the answer, then what is? I was thinking of brainstorming some stuff with you now that either we could try out together as little business besties, just to think and put the words out there into the universe, because one thing about me is I know that I can get really trapped in my head and kind of go around in circles and circles about, you know, just what I should be doing or what I could be doing, and then that ends up not being helpful at all. I find that whenever I actually show up in person, when I do the action, or when I talk like this, it's sort of like things become a little bit more clear to me. And so consider this little video essay exercise in what should we do about the Instagram problem? The most obvious is to divert that energy into a different platform which feels more rewarding. YouTube is a huge one for me. I love being on YouTube, it's the best. But the only thing is, you may have noticed yourself if you're also working on your own art business, it comes very naturally for me to talk about art on YouTube, but then that causes me to attract artists who might not be my most ideal art collector. Art doesn't really translate online as well as it does in person. When you see artwork in person, it's like you instantly start to feel this connection to it. You instantly start to write a story in your mind, but because of the barrier between the screen, the size being reduced, all of these factors, it's really easy to lose a lot of the connection that the art naturally wants to create with the viewer. And so a lot of times we have to learn to tell stories. And I'm just sort of thinking out loud, hoping that this might be helpful for someone else out there too. What I'm trying to do here is tap back into the joy of creation, because I'm just like feeling almost helpless, like with not feeling that joy right now. And so I'm trying to talk out my feelings and just kind of follow the little spark of, ooh, that sounds interesting, because that is a huge part about what keeps us creative, is that, ooh, I would love to explore that. In a lot of ways, I think that artists are scholars almost, like we are people who study something very in depth, right? Whenever I landed on this little world that I've created with the small joys in life, it was all about asking myself, what could I study for the rest of my life and never grow bored? What feels so completely like me, and that it just feels like inevitable that I've landed here. And, you know, I just find it so much fun and so cute. That's it. That's the feeling that I want. Let's hold on to it. Trying to be an artist in the online landscape is really difficult, right? Because you have so much, it feels like there's so much working against you. And very soon I want to make a video about, is art anti-business? Because, ooh, do I have thoughts and opinions? But before we get into all that stuff, I would love to hear your perspective here. Are you also an artist watching? If so, let me know your experience with working online as an artist. What platforms feel the best to you, and which platforms really rub you wrong, which are not worth it to you? And if you are not an artist and just a fellow consumer watching out of curiosity, I'm really curious to hear your personal relationship with the social apps, so to say. If you're not a creator on them, like, which apps do you love getting on? Which ones do you just find yourself on for no reason, kind of thing? Because I feel like that's me with Instagram. I will just open Instagram for no reason, and I'll be like, why am I on here again? You know what I mean? Whereas YouTube is one that I get on and I'm like very excited to be on. I'm like, cool, I'm gonna learn new cool stuff. I feel in control of the content that I consume in a way that I just don't feel in control on other social apps. Have you ever considered quitting Instagram, or have you? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. I'm so curious right now. And next week we are going to be talking about art and business. Is art anti-business? One might say not. Are they intertwined? Who's to know? Find out next week. And if you need a little bit of optimism and joy in your life, I really do think that you'll enjoy my Small Joys Club. It is a very beautiful community of like-minded people who are just looking for a little reminder that there is still joy out there. And it doesn't have to be this huge clap of thunder. It is actually in the small things. As always, spending any amount of time here on this channel with me is a gift. I really do consider it a gift, and for that, this humble artist says thank you. I don't know. Tazo is looking around my studio for something to eat. Tazo! Stop trying to eat paper. He's crazy.